Hey, good evening, everybody. I wanted to do another update on the situation in Afghanistan, specific to my organization and the actions that we're taking, where people are. News is starting to news is starting to flow out. The main media is really starting to comment, and so there's a lot more. There's a lot more news happening. There's not a lot more information available now. I've still got quite a bit of information that may be new to a lot of you, and that you might find interesting. And so I'm going to do the same format that I did in the past few videos, which is I'm kind of going to give you the factual information that I can first, and then I'll roll into some commentary, some more personal views on this situation. So let me start by correcting some things that I had said in, I can't remember if it was which video it was, but I've only been doing these a couple days. So I had initially made the comment that American citizens, that I was confident American citizens were being taken care of. So that it was true at the time based on the information I had, based on what my organization and the military was doing. Turns out we got our State Department, our embassy personnel, because some of them are State Department, but there's also some contractors and some third country nationals that are also part of that team. We have gotten those people out. I know we've got all the State Department people out. I know we've got all of the people in my organization out, and I know that basically the people who were working on the embassy compound are out. They're currently located in friendly countries in the region. We as of this afternoon, Iraq time, I'm sitting in Iraq. This afternoon, Iraq time, there was already, the first group had already gotten all the way back to the States, and then there was other groups sitting in friendly countries in the region awaiting follow-on transport. So I prepared some notes actually to make sure that I could give you guys as much information as I could. And this is actually a few hours old. I got done working today, and I got some food in the evening, and I was so exhausted that I had to get some sleep. So I didn't get on immediately. So this is I don't know, 8 or so hours, kind of old, at least to me. I've had this information for a little while. But as it turns out, with American citizens, there are thousands left, and we don't really know what the number is. And I think I would like to speak to this just a little bit very quickly. There's a lot of questions, a lot of questions about how did this happen. So a lot of these folks were working for NGOs, for other organizations, doing humanitarian work, various types of work out in the country, and by the time they got the word that they needed to get back, they didn't have time to get there. You have to understand in Afghanistan that the road infrastructure, the transportation infrastructure, it's hard to get around the country if you don't have access to an airplane, or better yet, a helicopter that can land, more or less anywhere. So that's how that happened when people are befuddled. This kind of speaks to the lack of planning and the just lack of foresight in executing this whole plan. So yeah, there's thousands of Americans left, and we really don't have much of a, I have not heard I haven't heard much of a plan to get them out, because I think the situation is so volatile. It is so bad that we're trying to figure out. So we're trying to figure it out. So I'm not even going to comment on what we could do. There's a lot of different ways we can handle that, and we shall see what actually happens. But Uh, Absolutely, if you've got loved ones that were working for NGOs that are still in the country, in Afghanistan, I 100% feel for you. It is a disaster, but I want to stay away from opinion for now. Try to give you just the info. Um, yeah, so it's not clear what we're going to do. If those folks are captured by the Taliban, I will put it. I'm just going to tell you it's going to be dicey, and getting those people back may be difficult. It's already difficult. As of right now, the military side of the field, the airfield in Kabul, it's divided into two sides. One side was the civilian, like normal airport side, and the other side was military. And that military part has been secured by American troops. And I've heard different things. I'm sure there's multiple, organizations in there, but there's my understanding is we've got 82nd Airborne has come in. You're going to have Marine. I'm assuming that Marines were left in place. The MSG Marines were left in place at the embassy and have now been reinforced. At any rate, the Taliban has the entire city surrounded. It's cut off. There's checkpoints at all the roads. So getting those Americans from out in the country back in to Kabul to be evacuated, very tough, and apparently very difficult to move inside the country. And so we're just going to have to figure that out, and we're going to have to wait to see how it works. It is widely reported now that the Taliban is going door to door, rounding up, I'll just call them collaborators, basically anybody who is associated with the Americans, the Afghan government, anybody associated with that more liberal, I'll call it in the classic sense, liberal side of things. There's a female mayor who made a video. She was Afghanistan's, I guess, first female mayor of a town, and she's hunkered down in her house, and she said that she's waiting for the Taliban to come and kill her. So it is a humanitarian disaster, like I've said in the others, and at some point the communications into the country are going to break down, and we're not going to know how many people are being killed. We're not going to get any reporting on it. So God only knows what will be going on. It's a bad situation, as everybody knows. Now, I'm gonna talk about a couple things here that are germane. Fox News reported that General Miller, the commander of NATO and U.S. forces in Afghanistan, warned the President Biden, that a rapid Afghan government collapse was the most likely outcome of a quick exit. So there's that. Like I said before, anybody who was there could have told you that. Anybody who had spent any time on the ground and was not deluded would have told you that. The Washington Post has reported that General Milley, the Chairman Joint Chiefs of Staff, in private, advised the president not to do the quick exit. So this is just stuff that's starting to come out, and this event is being called the worst foreign policy debacle in American history by several news outlets, and that is right in line with my assessment. And this is coming from across the political spectrum, so that's a little surprising. It's coming from across the political spectrum. It's not just Republicans. It's not just right wingers. It's not just left wingers. It's across the political spectrum. So far, the administration is remaining essentially silent on this issue. I've been looking at quite a bit of reaction from across the world, from news organizations largely, and it's not being viewed favorably. Our response, the administration's response to this disaster, is not being viewed favorably. But the administration remains essentially silent on the issue, and I'll leave it to you to think about why that might be. But there are approximately 88,000-ish, give or take, total people that still need to be evacuated. Now, these are folks who were interpreters. They may have been people who worked at the embassy, who were Afghans. These are folks who were in some way connected to the U.S. and our efforts there, connected to the coalition and our efforts there, and are now at extreme risk for being killed and having their families killed because of that association. We shall see how this plays out. So I believe we are including that number that has been thrown out, 88 or so thousand people. My understanding is that a few thousand Americans are included in that number. But we'll, the bottom line is we don't really know. Untold amounts of weapons, vehicles, aircraft, and other material, military material, have been left behind for the Taliban. Remember, the administration made a comment in a press briefing that the Afghan National Army was the best equipped, best trained military organization in the region. Well, guess who is now? The Taliban, because they are now the best equipped, and they're pretty well trained. I can tell you that from personal experience. The Taliban are not idiots. They're pretty good at what they do, as diabolical as it might be. So now there has been a groundswell of calls for the resignation of both Biden and Harris over this Afghan debacle, coupled especially with this self-inflicted border crisis. Now, these are related, and I'm not the only one saying this. We have very recently apprehended several people at the southern border with known terrorist ties. So how many ISIS, Al-Qaeda members are now inside the American borders? And that's been an argument for a very long time for the southern, with regard to the southern border issue. This is not about being racist or being, I'm not sure what the other word would be, but it's not about some racial thing. It is about security. What new threats will rise out of Afghanistan directly, out of Afghanistan itself, and then less directly from the ripple effects of this disaster? So physically rippling out into surrounding countries, and then of course geopolitically, those ripple effects as they go out. Things like just losing confidence in America. American allies are characterizing this event as, one quote was, America's cut and run. The foreign press is not happy. The foreign press is opining that either the president has been previously lying with regard to the capabilities in Afghanistan, or that his intelligence officers lied to him. Further stating, and here's a quote, "The optics are bad enough, but the planning was even worse." And I commented on that on another video the way it appeared to me as we were executing this thing, the way it appeared to me from a military planning perspective, based on my experience in doing a lot of that sort of thing. Continuing on with the foreign press, what I'm seeing in the foreign press, many are accusing the administration of essentially carrying out a marketing campaign in which they oversold the capabilities of the Afghan army. And you know what? I didn't follow that a whole lot. Looking back now that you're seeing all these sound bites come out in the press, yeah, they were absolutely overselling that capability. And it's not just the straight up capability in terms of, hey, they have so many vehicles, they have so many weapons, they have so much ammo. There's a lot more to a military capability than that. How well led are they? How well motivated are they? And I think what it has come down to is that unless they're being paid, or unless they were being paid, and unless they were being well led, which really meant American involvement, they were going to vanish the Afghan army. And I would agree with that assessment from way back in my own experience. Additionally, the Army is completely unable to properly maintain and operate equipment, seeing as how American contractors who were doing that for them were among the first to leave the country. So they're gone. And now all of a sudden, imagine a pilot trying to fly a helicopter without the mechanics and the mechanical expertise to keep the darn thing running. That's just one example. All right, so pressing on just a little bit, and I'm just trying to paint a picture of the reaction from the foreign press, which has surprised me, frankly. There was some additional reporting referencing U.S. intelligence reports. Sorry, guys, it's like I don't know, 4 o'clock in the morning here. I just woke up, but they've been referencing U.S. intelligence. Oh, I can't talk. U.S. intelligence reports from 11 August. And I'm just going to read here, warning that Kabul could be isolated within 30 days and taken in 90. And as it turns out, it was only about 5 days later. But 5 days later, the Taliban was in the presidential palace. So I wrap this up by saying that in the international press, the Biden administration is being accused of either willful and blissful ignorance or malfeasance, lying. I can't imagine which. I'll leave that for you to discern for yourself and to figure out as things unfold here. Now, it has been inexplicable to me, but as an example, Secretary Blinken is still calling the Afghanistan mission a success. I have no idea what he is referring to. He has conveniently blamed the Afghan forces, saying, yeah, they weren't willing to fight. And now I somewhat agree with that assessment. And that is you could write a book on it. You could do whole 2-hour segments on why the Afghan forces didn't fight. But they didn't. But to just blame them as the only reason for this is disingenuous at best. So I'll continue to comment on my observations that the entire world appears to be absolutely dumbfounded at the president's silence, and 100% befuddled over the one speech that he gave on the issue. But he's being viewed as as not engaging on the issue, which is and this is where I was starting to talk about the ripple effects of this event. The administration is being viewed as clowns, untrustworthy, unreliable. Gosh, does America, do we look like that flaky friend that, you kind of like, but you can't rely on to do anything? Or the weird uncle that that everybody tolerates at Thanksgiving, but doesn't really want to have around that much because he's just, just not reliable. So let me ask you a question. That I want you guys to think about. What does this event mean for American engagement in the world going forward, based on what I just told you? If we're being viewed, and it appears we are, and you know what, frankly, I think we should be viewed with suspicion. We have demonstrated ourselves to be catastrophically untrustworthy. Can we ever be taken seriously again? Can our allies, our NATO allies, Britain, Australia, allies that not only depend on us, but trust us implicitly, can they trust us now? And I know, based on the press reporting, that there are serious questions being asked about that right now, at this moment. So not only internationally are we embarrassed, but we're being seen as preoccupied with something else. That the Afghan thing, while it blew up into a crisis, that we're not really engaged there, that it wasn't important. It wasn't even important enough to carry out to have a serious plan with serious contingencies. And the military guys will know what I'm talking about. Serious contingency. What is the worst possible thing that could happen? Let's plan for that. What is the second worst thing? And you always got, particularly for a deliberate operation like this, you have always got a tremendous number of contingencies, and they are well planned out, and they are well rehearsed, at least at a staff level. And it becomes almost like calling a play. Primary play goes to shit. We say, we audible off, and we say, okay, now we're going to play 22 linebacker is the play now. And everybody just executes. Boom. And, they do it. It is apparent that none of that was done. And it appears to the world that we are preoccupied with domestic evangelizing of the fundamentalist religion of wokeism. I have come back to this a couple of times in other videos, but it is germane and it is central. And I want to ask a serious question, food for thought. This fundamentalist wokeism that is sweeping over the country, in America, how is it different from the Taliban's fundamentalist religion in terms of its scorched earth, take no prisoners tactics? Is canceling someone for a 20-year-old remark and ruining their life all that different from stoning somebody in Afghanistan for playing music or cutting off their hand for stealing a piece of food, in terms of the ideology behind it? I just asked that question. and look at how it's taking over the country, and it has infiltrated the government, it has infiltrated education and the media. Everybody's okay with it. Well, everybody is not okay with it. But I asked that question. I will make a statement first. Wokeism and all that goes with it is a fundamentalist ideology, not that different from the Taliban. As of now, the tactics and the end state may not be quite as repugnant to Western civilization. However, the results are the same. Think about that. We shut down freedom of speech. We shut down freedom of religion. We shut down other freedoms in terms of being able to express yourself and think for yourself and associate with those who you might want to associate with. I don't know. I think it bears thinking about. So I want to transition on from that to close out the way my day closed out today. I can tell I was in a meeting about this whole thing as we're trying to now sort of, from my organization standpoint, pick up the pieces, take a knee, and trying to get our people home. I can tell you that that there were some really genuine, heartfelt words from the highest level in the Department of State today for the way our organization, the organization that I work with, the way that we conducted ourselves in Afghanistan and our efforts to get everyone out. The American people will never know the level of courage and sense of duty that these people who I get to work with every day have, and the commitment they have to do their job. And thank God we were successful at least getting our people out of there. Now, there's a lot more work to do, but it's beyond what my organization could possibly do. This is now a military operation strictly. I don't know everybody in our organization in Afghanistan. I have several friends over there. But they conducted themselves as I would expect as I know my organization here would conduct themselves, with cool professionalism in a terrible tactical situation. I get to go to work with heroes every day. Every single day I work with the best America has to offer. And I am so proud to be able to count myself among them, that I get to work with these people every day. And you're never going to know any of their names. You're never going to know what it is they do. But you can rest assured that there are still people in this world who are committed to doing their job in a way that is heroic and having a sense of duty and real pride in being an American. It's not just in the military anymore. So that, I think, is where I'm going to leave it for this video. I meant for this to be a quick update. I was stumbling around my words a lot. I did have some questions that were asked of me. I may try to address those at a different time. One of them that I'll clear up real quick is a friend of mine from back in Afghanistan who is he's a filmmaker, that was embedded with my squadron for a while asked why I was constantly referring to Iraqi time, and the reason I'm constantly referring to Iraqi time is because that's where I sit. I'm in Iraq, and so when I say, hey, it happened about 12 o'clock Iraqi time, and I don't want to have to do the quick math to convert to either Afghanistan time or Eastern Standard Time. So I'll just let you guys do the math. But that's the answer to the one question. And there was another one, and it escapes my mind. I should have written it down. Let me also also say that if anybody wants to reuse this video or this information anyway, no need to ask. Just go ahead and do it. It's getting a decent number of views, at least in terms of what I normally get. And for somebody who just started kind of making these sorts of videos, this is probably the last video I'm going to use doing utilizing the Semper Savage accounts. The only reason I used those was because they were already existing, and I don't want to get the company mixed up in a lot of political commentary and stuff. So I will probably move that over to my personal account. So if on the various platforms, Facebook, Instagram, I'm on Getter, and even YouTube, I'll probably build a YouTube channel and then move these videos over there, and it's just going to be John Curry. So if you Google or if you look up my name, JOHNCURRIE, if you want to keep seeing this kind of content, I need to move it off of the Semper Savage company website. But while I'm here, hey, check out Semper Savage. Look it up, sempersavage.com. Best marinades and dressings on the planet. At any rate, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for watching. Sorry, my brain's a little bit of mush in there this morning. But guys, wherever you are, have a great morning, have a great afternoon, have a great evening. Look forward to seeing you next time. Hope you got something out of this video, and I will see you later. Bye.